For any color that is out there in the world, we only need 4 paint tubes to mix the exact same color, and 2 of them is always going to be black and white. How do we pick the other 2 colors? I'll show you right now. Let's start with matching yellow ochre, which is a relatively popular color that many artists purchase. First, we already know we're going to use black and white, so we just need to pick the other 2 colors. We'll be always picking the 2 colors from these 5 colors. These 5 colors and black and white is the limited palette that I use, and it can mix a really wide range of color. We'll mix these 5 colors to the same value as yellow ochre. If we need to go darker in value, we add black. If we need to go lighter in value, we add white. In this example, we added black to yellow and orange, and we added white to crimson, blue, and green to get the same value. Now that we have all the colors in the same value, we'll try to find the 2 colors that we need to mix yellow ochre. We can say that this color is the closest match, so the other color is going to be either this one or this one. This color is too green compared to yellow ochre, so we don't want to make it more green, so the other color can't be this color, so it must be this orange color. We can now conclude that yellow ochre lies somewhere in between these 2 colors. Therefore, in theory, we should be able to mix yellow ochre with yellow, orange, and black and white. Now let's try this out. We already have 4 colors that we need on our palette, so let's go ahead and try to mix the exact same color. Yellow and orange are used for balancing the hue. Yellow will push the hue in one direction, and orange will push it to the other. Black or white are used to change the value of the color. If we need to go lighter in value, we add white. If we need to go darker in value, we add black. I know many of you, including myself, were told not to use black, but in this video, we'll see the advantages of using black. Try not to add white and also black at this stage, only one or the other. Adding black and white will lower the saturation, and we want to do that at the very end, as it is always easier to lower the saturation compared to increasing it. Once we have the saturated version of this yellow ochre, in other words, we have the same hue, it's a yellow-orange, and also the same value of darkness, we can just lower the saturation to match the color. Lowering the saturation is done by adding gray, so we mix up a gray using black and white, making sure this gray is the same value so we're not affecting the value. Because black and white produces a blue-gray, this will push the hue towards the blue side, making the mixture more green. This can be easily compensated with an extra addition of orange to push the hue back up. And there we have it, yellow ochre successfully mixed and matched. Now we can see that using yellow ochre can actually limit our paintings and our color range. In other words, we only need colors at the extremities of the saturation range, as everything in between them can be mixed. Next, we'll be matching burnt umber. Again, this is a popular color that many artists purchase. We already know that we are going to use black and white, so we just need to pick the 2 colors from these 5 colors. We'll mix the 5 colors to the same value as burnt umber by adding black if we need to go darker in value, or add white if we need to go lighter in value. Now that we have all the colors in the same value, we'll try to find the 2 colors that we need to mix burnt umber. We can see that this color is pretty close, so the other color is going to be either this one or this one. This color is too green compared to burnt umber, so we don't want to make it more green, so the other color must be this dark red color. So in theory, we should be able to mix burnt umber with orange, crimson, and black and white. We already have the 4 colors that we need on our palette, so let's go ahead and try to mix burnt umber. Orange and crimson are used for balancing the hue. Black or white are used to change the value of the color. For this instance, we need to go darker in value, so we add black. Try not to add white and black at this stage, only one or the other, because we always want to stay on the more saturated side, as it is easier to lower the saturation. If you go too dark, just add more orange and crimson to make the value lighter. This method really allows us to have total control over the pigments in our mixes. I used to just add a bunch of random colors and assume I'll be able to eventually match the color. If we do this, we would probably have a hard time creating clean, intense, vibrant colors. Anyway, once we have the saturated version of this burnt umber, in other words, we have the same hue, it's a orangey red, and also the same value or darkness, we can just lower the saturation to match the color. Lowering the saturation is done by adding gray, so we mix up a gray using black and white, making sure this gray is the same value so we're not affecting the value. When comparing values or darkness, squinting our eyes can really help. And there we have it, burnt umber successfully mixed and matched. Now we can see that using burnt umber can actually limit our paintings and our potential color range, especially in capturing the intense rich dark shadows that nature provides us. The colors in our palette are chosen because it creates colors at the extremities of the saturation range, allowing us to mix the widest range of colors. I just want to mention that the black in my palette is Ivory black. I have tested a few different types of blacks, such as lamp black, chromatic black from Gamblin, and also black made from mixing opposite colors such as ultramarine and burnt umber. However, Ivory black provides us with the best result. It creates the cleanest mix. It is true that adding black makes the color muddy. However, making colors darker almost always makes the color muddy. And Ivory black is our best option. It darkens the color while maintaining the highest saturation possible. We have to be very careful when we are trying to mix rich and intense saturated darks or shadows, because as soon as we add a bunch of other pigments that are not listed in our palette, we are adding impurities and we won't be able to replicate the rich, intense saturated shadows that nature provides us. Mixing grays are actually easier. Because they are very desaturated, they are much more forgiving, and we can mix a bit of everything and we'll still be able to match the colors. Anyway, let's try to match this gray. First, we already know we are going to use black and white, so we just need to pick the 2 colors from these 5 colors. When we are trying to match a very low saturated color such as this gray, I just start with a mixture created from black and white that has the same value. Then, we add a little bit of the color into each of these grays. This allows us to easily find the combination that will create this particular gray. In this instance, we got lucky and it's pretty much just blue and nothing else. With a little bit of experience, whenever we look at a color, we'll be able to instantly know the exact colors that we need in order to match the color. And this is easy because we only need 4 paint tubes to mix any color, and 2 of them is always going to be black and white. When we are trying to mix colors, sometimes the pile gets bigger and bigger, making it hard to organize our palette. To prevent this from happening, we can just use a palette knife. I have various palette knives with different shapes, but I only use these ones in this video because the shape allows us to make small circular swatches of color. They are also much easier to clean compared to brushes, so I always try to mix colors using these palette knives. In conclusion, we only need 5 colors and black and white to pretty much mix any color out there in the world. It's a limited palette, making the entire painting process clean and organized. I buy these colors from different brands, and you can find the exact paint tubes that I use in the description below. There is also a list for acrylics. Even though the medium is different, the color mixing principles are exactly the same. This color mixing method really only works with this specific palette. And if you're just starting out, I highly recommend you to start with a really simple palette such as this one. I really wanted to create a video about this mixing method. It took me a while to make this because I work very slow. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video so far. It really means a lot to me. Thanks again and see you soon.